If you've ever wondered whether or not we read and heed the conference evaluation forms we ask you to submit, then welcoming our keynote speaker today should give you your answer, because based on your feedback, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Jim Lemons as our opening keynote speaker. Dr. Lemons has spoken at 2 other Scleroderma Foundation national conferences. Last year in San Francisco, he gave our closing keynote address. Those attending his previous talks have raved about his presentations and his wonderful, upbeat sense of humor. And so, it's my pleasure to welcome back to the stage, by popular demand, Dr. Jim Lemons. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that's pretty hard to live up to now. But you have given me the pleasure of coming before your conference or your organization 3 times, and I want to say that last year in doing the closing keynote speech, that some of you had already gotten tired and had gone home. But it's really nice to be able to meet you all at the beginning of your conference. I hope that I can just be a part of trying to make it a positive conference, a good experience. And just in listening to the things that you've already heard sort of really gets me in a more positive note. So I hope I can just build on that. I loved the comments, from the chairman of the board. I hope I had the title right. Those 4 L's, that's really awesome. In fact, I think he sort of stole my talk. But I can still build on that. So I would like to get started with how to live with serious medical problems. I've spent most of my career as a psychologist helping people that have very serious medical problems find more effective ways of coping with it. Decades ago, and I've heard some reference already to age, I think I probably top all of the speakers so far. I truly am older than dirt. That's what my sons say. And they're 42 and 40 and 38, so you can add the numbers, and I just hit 70 last year. So, how about that? And part of what I'd like to go through with you this morning during this opening presentation is how to live. And that's why I was really impressed to hear about those 4 L's. How to live. And how to live more effectively, even when you're being challenged by things like serious medical problems. And decades ago, we had the very, very unfortunate experience in our life of losing our first child. And that was a pretty big knockout blow. And I didn't deal with it very well for the first 7 years. And 7 years later, when I was on the staff at the Mayo Clinic, it was the cardiology department there that came to the psychology section and asked if any of us would be willing to volunteer to work with them. And I raised my hand and volunteered. Now, one of the things that I had learned on going through graduate school and in going through the military, so I'm a veteran, is that you don't volunteer. Have some of you caught on to that yet? Okay, there you go. I want to see those thumbs up. But there was a reason for that, and that was because 7 years earlier, we had been through that tragic experience with a medical condition where this new little baby that had come into our life, and for 4 days had brought just tremendous joy and tremendous happiness. And there is a power of positive emotions, and there's a power of positive thinking, and those are some of the things that I'm going to get into in my presentation this morning. But we're going to back that up with science. We're going to back that up with facts. The power that we have to help our bodies cope with really bad things by using our minds and by working with the emotional responses that we have. So in working with the cardiology department at the Mayo Clinic, in trying to help them with the patients who had heart disease, and they were doing an amazing job even back then. And it's exciting to hear that with scleroderma, that there's more research, there's going to be more findings, there's going to be improved ways of treating this medical condition that you're dealing with. But along with all of the medical sciences and along with all the pharmacological advances, I just this morning will do my very best to help you learn that your mind may be the most powerful thing that you've got. And if we can just help you learn how to work with your mind in a more positive direction, that will be a great help to help you cope with scleroderma, both as a patient or as those caring for the patients. So we're going to really work on what is the whole concept of the mind-body connection. And we're going to work on telling you stories. And I enjoyed those comments earlier too. One of my favorite books is The Kitchen Table Wisdom, written by Naomi Remen, who is a physician. And Dr. Remen says in her book that we now live in an age where we have more access to information than ever in the history of mankind. And we have quicker access to it than ever in the history of mankind. But she goes on to state that we're also living in an age where we have less wisdom than ever in the history of mankind. And I believe she has a point. And she goes on to say that we can get tons of information through the internet. The new web page is going to be an amazing ability and capability for you all to access information, and that's really important. But Naomi Remen says wisdom doesn't come through the internet. Wisdom doesn't come through the Encyclopedia Britannica. Wisdom doesn't come through the textbook. Wisdom comes from the stories that were told around the kitchen table. And in the life that we're now currently living, most of us aren't sitting around the kitchen table anymore. We're really not communicating about life. And so I'm going to probably go back to the future a little bit in some of the things that I'm going to cover with you today. So let me take you all the way back to high school. And for me, that's in the mid-1950s. See, I told you, it's the old guy up here. And every now and then I would have to go to the barber shop and get my hair cut. And the old barber in this little town in western Nebraska just jabbered all the time, yakety, 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 yak. And I was just like, oh, would you just please be quiet? But every now and then he said some things that stuck with me. At the time, as a teenager, I thought that all old people really didn't know much. So I wrote him off when one morning he said to me while cutting my hair, he said, you know, Jim, I can tell what kind of a day I'm going to have first thing in the morning. Oh, yeah? Really? How do you tell that? And he said, well, if I wake up and I'm thinking, good morning, Lord, I usually have a pretty good day. But if I wake up and I'm thinking, good Lord, morning, I have a pretty rough day. Now, as that teenager, I wrote him off, like, what's he know? But then later, after graduate school and studying about psychology and the mind-body connection and how health is impacted greatly by our thoughts, it was like, you know, he did know what he was talking about. Just that thought really does have an impact on us at a cellular level. And a lot of people don't really get that yet. So I want to try to help you get that. That your thoughts are affecting your body at a cellular level. Your thoughts are affecting the biochemistry of your body. And so when we wake up in the morning, one of the little tools that I would like to have you take with you from this talk is to think positively, even that first thought in the morning. So let's start off and let's say, good morning. That was pretty weak. We got to do a little better than that. Come on, really. Good morning. It's great to be at a conference where I'm going to learn. If you think that, that's actually affecting your body at a cellular level. Can any of you almost start to feel that already? Good morning. I'm going to learn things today. I'm excited about that. That's affecting your heart rate. That's affecting your cholesterol level. That's affecting your adrenaline, your blood sugars, because your mind is connected to your body. So if you would just get into the practice of thinking good morning you are starting off better than if you wake up and you think, oh, blank, and you can fill in the blanks. I used to wake up very negatively. Oh, no, another day in paradise. No. So I now do wake up, think, good morning, Lord. This is a new day. I'll do the best I can with it, even with the challenges that come. So this is a good morning. Good morning, Texas. This is almost my first time being here, so I didn't have a wreck in a Pinto, but it's a wonderful opportunity for me. I can feel it. I felt it this morning, so we want to help you feel it too. So we're going to look at pretty much the physiology and the psychology of pain. And they told me 3 years ago that I had to have a PowerPoint thing. I'm way older than PowerPoints. And that just scared the dickens out of me. In fact, 3 years ago when I was here, the first time I think it was, I was doing a breakout session, and I was so fortunate because I went into the room, and the speaker ahead of me was a young man that was giving a talk, and he was up there just doing something with the zip this and the zap that, and he was getting it all set up. And I just literally said, could you please help me? Because I got a zip, but I don't know what to do with the zap, and I just don't know what's going to go on. And he was very nice, and he said, oh, sure, no problem. No, and it is. For these young people that have grown up with this, it's just, they know it. So he did my zip and my zap and showed me that that's what we do. And then I got totally lost with this thing, because I'm supposed to do something with this. Oh, by gosh, it works. About changing the slides. But as I was talking to this nice young gentleman that was helping me get the electronics all set up, I was sharing with him how frightened I was with it. And he says, oh, you sound just like my dad. Well, I probably could be your dad. And he said, my dad is this amazing teacher, and he doesn't like this new technology stuff either. But when you go to big meetings, you kind of have to do it. But you know what my dad does? I said, what's that? He starts it, and then he just tells people, don't follow the screen, because I'm going to go all over the place, because I would like to teach you and tell you stories that will last longer than the screens will. So I might follow the screens, but probably not. This first one is that the pain that you have joins the pain that people have, and chronic pain is a huge epidemic in our society. Chronic pain affects us because of what we call the ripple effect. With your disease, we could put scleroderma in that first circle. Your scleroderma is going to affect your thoughts, it's going to affect your emotions, and it does affect your behavior. So this ripple effect is true for all medical conditions. The center that I have in Kansas City focuses on chronic pain, and chronic pain from all medical kinds of problems. So this is going to look like it's all about pain, but it's about scleroderma. It's about hypertension. It's about cancer. It's about heart disease. Any medical problem could go in that center circle. Those medical conditions affect our thoughts. How many of you, because of scleroderma, started having some negative thoughts? Oh, just a few of you? Now, come on. Be honest. When we have a negative thing happen in our life, we start to have negative thoughts about it. That's just natural. What I want to do this morning is help you learn that even though you start with these negative thoughts, your brain has the capacity to change that. You can change from being a negative thinker, or what we call a stinking thinker, into a positive thinker. I don't care how your body feels in the morning when you wake up. What are you going to think? Oh, there, okay, so somebody's getting with it. What are we going to think in the morning? Yes, we're going to say good morning, and I'm going to do the best I can with all the tools that I've got. Every cell in your body is going to say thank you. Because if you wake up and you're thinking, oh, crap, the cells in your body are going to say, oh, no, he's doing it to me again. Because of that stinking thinking, that negative attitude. Now, we know that it's normal to have it in the beginning, but what we're wanting to help you learn from a behavioral health standpoint is that you don't have to stay with those negative thoughts. You can change those negative thoughts by practicing positive thoughts. And there is a power of positive thinking. It's real. Henry Ford, the guy who started Ford Motor Company, there's a quote of his that we work a lot with, so I'm going to ask you to work with it too. Henry Ford is known as saying, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, either way, you're right. Have you heard that one? That's a pretty interesting quote. And he's right. If you think you can, or if you think you can't, either way, you're right. Now, to unpack that a little bit, let's just look at the automotive industry. And everybody in the history of building automobiles previous to Henry Ford thought you can't make cars on an assembly line. That was a whole new technology that came with the Industrial Revolution. And everybody thought, you can't make cars on an assembly line because there's too many parts. It's too big. It's too complex. But Henry thought what? I think I can. It looks like he was right. Henry Marconi was a scientist at about that same time in history, and he's known as the inventor or the father of the radio. The world was thrilled at that time with the recent discovery of telephone and telegraph. And you could communicate as far as you could string a wire, and that was absolutely amazing. Wow. And Dr. Marconi thought, I think we should be able to communicate over vast distances without wires. How many of you have a cell phone in your pocket? It looks like he was right. We're now communicating over vast distances without wires because he thought we could. So how many of you think you can make this a good day? You can. But it has to go farther than just thinking. If those two Henrys would have just sat around and thought about it, I don't think those things would have happened. So we have to add the power of positive thinking with preparing, practicing, and practicing and practicing. So if you just think good morning and that's all you do, good luck. But if you think good morning and you have made some preparations to have this be a good day, and then if you practice and practice and practice, you will develop some good skills that will in fact help you make this a better day. But if you think, oh no, here we go again, yeah, then you're going to practice those skills, and it's negative, and it's going to have a bad effect upon your scleroderma. It's going to have a bad effect on your health overall. So in the morning, you're going to wake up and you're going to think, good morning. And if it's a personal thing, but good morning, Lord, and if that fits, use good morning, Lord. But you've then got to make preparations, and you've got to practice developing new techniques and skills. And one of the skills that you need to learn how to do is to relax. Any medical condition causes our body to go into the stress response. And the stress response is a whole set of physiological and biochemical things that happen within our body whenever we experience stress. All medical conditions are stressors. And the world is full of other stressors too. So we have to help learn how to do a better job of coping with this stress in life. And one of the ways that we can help you learn to cope with stress better is to help your body learn how to relax. Now at our center, we spend 6 weeks teaching people to learn how to relax. I probably have 40 minutes left. So the negative part of me would think, well, forget it. Can't be done. But the positive thought of me thinks what? I think I can do it. Do you think you can do it? All right, we're going to do it. We're going to do a little relaxation technique right now. And all it is your breathing. Some of you have already started it. Have you ever heard that yawning is contagious? It is. Because the breath, that's what we call it, the breath, the relaxation breath. Some people call it the cleansing breath. Some of you are already taking it, aren't you? You're going, we're going to do 2 in a row. All join me, okay? Breathe in slowly and deeply now. And then breathe out slowly and completely. Once more. Breathe in slowly and deeply. And then breathe out slowly and completely. Now wake up, wake up, wake up. How many of you could feel yourself almost getting tired? That's because with just 2 relaxation breaths, you started decreasing that physiological and biochemical stress response within your body. And if you happen to be a little tired yet, then fatigue would probably take over and you would get in a nap. So you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to think, "Good morning, Lord," and you're going to take what? 2 of those relaxation breaths. But now you have to plan for that, and you have to practice and practice and practice. And if you will do that for 2 weeks, you will have developed 2 new techniques, 2 new skills that will help you cope with scleroderma and all the stress that the world is going to throw at you. But you got to remember to practice. So the relaxation response, and there's all kinds of methods and there's all kinds of techniques. Here's another one. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'd like to introduce it to you. It's a relaxation technique, and it's called guided imagery. And what we do is that we just guide our mind into certain kinds of thoughts. And then we see how much that helps our body relax. So what I want to do for just 2 or 3 minutes now is ask you to join me in doing a guided imagery technique. But remember, your mind is connected to your body, and if you will just let me guide your mind, you will feel your body begin to relax more, just like you did with those 2 relaxation breaths. So, everybody just close your eyes for a moment and take just one of those relaxation breaths. Breathe in slowly and deeply, and breathe out slowly and completely. And then I want your mind to think of the most beautiful place that you have ever been. And there may be several places that you think of, but just choose one. Just focus your mind on one of the most beautiful places that you have ever been. And let your mind be just like a Polaroid camera. Develop that image. See the shapes. See the colors. Just see this beautiful place that you have chosen to remember. And now begin to hear the wonderful sounds that are always part of beautiful places. So let your mind continue to see this beautiful place and begin to hear the wonderful sounds. Just stay focused. See your beautiful place. Hear the wonderful sounds. And you may begin to feel sensations of warmth and softness, because they're always present in our beautiful places. And as we conclude this exercise, just gently roll your shoulders, slowly stretch your arms, and then allow your eyes to open, feeling more relaxed. Now, if we had time, I would love to come around the room and say, where did you go? How many of you got there? How many of you could see whatever beautiful place you chose? That's good. How many of you could hear those wonderful sounds that are there? That's wonderful. I'd love to come to your beautiful place. And you know, if you told me about your beautiful place, do you know what would start happening to my body? I would relax too, because I would now be focusing my mind with you on your place, because you're now communicating that with me. And that's going to be another one of the techniques that we're going to talk briefly about, is communication to deal with the stress of scleroderma. But how many of you felt a little relaxation? Just in those 3 or 4 minutes. So now in the morning, what's our plan? Now, is scleroderma that much of a downer? Yes? Okay. Yes, it is. But now scleroderma shouldn't be controlling your mind. Who's got control of that? You do. Take over. Don't let scleroderma take over your life. Or you're a wimp. Now, did that tick any of you off? I hope so. Because I'd like to get you fighting mad. The first speaker said all they got to do to him is say you can't do it, and he'll what? He'll do it. I love that attitude. That's that power of positive thinking. So you're going to wake up in the morning. Now, come on. Don't disappoint me this time. You're going to wake up in the morning and think what? And then what are you going to do? 2 of those really wonderful breaths. And then you know what? If you wanted to just lay there for just the next 2 or 3 minutes and let your mind do what? Go to your beautiful place and hear it and see it and even begin to feel it. When you get out of bed then, your body is actually functioning better than if you wake up and you think, oh crap, I hate this day. This is going to be a bummer. Well, what did Henry Ford teach us? You're right. So change that thinking from that stinking thinking into that positive thinking, but put it with plans and then prepare by practicing and practicing and practicing. Okay, this pain from scleroderma or from anything, your medical condition, it not only affects your thoughts that you're going to take over now. Remember, at my center, we teach people that our minds are like a television set. But you have the remote control. It's up to you to tune in to what you want to tune into. So if you tune into, oh hell, it's an ugly day, that's where you're focused. What's that going to do to your blood pressure? It's going up. What's that going to do to the adrenaline level? It's going up. And you're going to feel tension in those muscles. So you're going to think, good morning. You're going to take those 2 relaxation breaths. And you're going to go to your beautiful place just for 2 or 3 minutes. Your body is going to thank you. You still have scleroderma to deal with, but you're dealing with it in a more positive mental way. You're dealing with it by using a couple of little tools that are powerful. That power of positive thinking. Norman Vincent Peale wrote the book decades ago called The Power of Positive Thinking. It was all based on theology. There's a biblical verse that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. That's the mind-body connection. There's a verse in Proverbs that says, a cheerful heart is good medicine. Now we know the science that backs that up. Did you know that when you laugh, your endorphin levels go up? They do. Endorphins are the body's natural painkiller. So laughter is good medicine. It is like that section in Reader's Digest. Go to those 2 pages. Read those 2 pages of jokes. Last year at the closing, I said, I'm not good at telling jokes, and so I asked somebody to volunteer to do that. And I think I saw her here today. She told the neatest story. Were any of you there last year? Wow. Anyway, she volunteered, and I don't think I can do it as well as she did. But remember, laughter is good medicine. Your endorphins are going to go up. It's going to help you cope with your pain. So I'd asked earlier in the presentation, and we got to that part about, okay, let's laugh now. And she came up and she told this great story. So here's my memory of it. And the story was about this man who was having his 50th wedding anniversary, and so they were interviewing about, how have you done this? It's unusual to see couples last that long nowadays. So what's your secret? And he said, well, I finally learned that I should listen to my wife. And so after the first 25 years of marriage, I did listen, and I had heard that she would love to go to Florida. So for our 25th anniversary, I took her to Florida. And now for my 50th wedding anniversary, I'm going to go pick her up. Isn't that funny? Yes. Cool. Cool. That's a funny story. Now just be still. Be still. Listen to your body. How many of you can tell that your body feels a tiny bit better? It does, because we've just stimulated the production of endorphins with laughter. It is real. The science backs that up. So a cheerful heart is good medicine. Do you know what the very next verse in Proverbs says? A downcast spirit turns the bones to dust. Ooh. So how are you going to wake up in the morning? Good morning. Here we go. I'm going to do the best I can with the tools that I got. And it might even help me to take 2 of those relaxation breaths. And it will always help me if I can use my mind to go to positive places, even by just imagining, because the brain has this capacity to imagine. So laughter is good medicine. Positive thoughts are good medicine. Just thoughts that are positive. In Texas, 11 years ago, but San Antonio, this is a story that I'm going to share with you, because every time I think about this, my body gets healthier. I want to share it with you. I want to see if you can experience some of my oxytocin level that's going to come up when I think about this. Because 11 years ago, I had the privilege and the joy of having a first grandchild, and that's pretty awesome. If you've been there, you know, don't you? If you haven't been there, it's coming, and it's awesome. Wow, here's this miracle of birth. And the thing that was really cool was this was the first little girl in my world. I grew up with 2 brothers, and we have 2 sons, so I don't know much about you little girls. So the first little girl in my world comes. Wow. And she was born on my birthday. Oh. It did it to you, didn't it? How many of you went? Oh. Your oxytocin levels went up, literally. And oxytocin is one of those hormones in the body that's known as that feel-good hormone. Do it again. Oh, wow. Literally, that gave you a little boost of oxytocin. And that laughter gave you a little boost of endorphins. And those positive thoughts about going to your beautiful place, they help the body at the cellular level. And that's all real. Is it starting to make some sense? It's just so real. So behavioral health, and that's what I do. It's about how we can help you with this scleroderma, but with behavioral concepts. And then add that to the medical technology and the pharmaceuticals that can help you. But if we don't add this behavioral component to help you deal with this serious medical condition, you're just going to come up a little short, and we can help you do better than that. So that's the purpose, that I hope I can help you get this idea this morning. You can do a lot of really great things to help you cope with your scleroderma and to help you cope with the people you're here to help with their scleroderma. Because the caregivers, do any of you have any stress? Oh yeah. We have a lot of stress too. So the caregivers, these assignments are not just for the patients. Did you catch on to that yet? This is for all of us. That we need to think more positively. And it starts off first thing. But then keep it going through the day too. Do those 2 relaxation breaths throughout the day. Don't just do it in the morning. Do it all day long. And when you need to have a little bit more of those physical cellular changes within your body to help you cope with your scleroderma, take 5 minutes and guide your mind to one of those beautiful places that you want to see and hear those sounds. And you will start to feel the warmth and the softness that's always present in our beautiful places. If in your mind you went to the beach as the most beautiful place you've ever been, you saw the water, you saw the sand, you saw the clouds, you saw the blue sky, and you heard the rhythm of the waves. And if you didn't, all it takes is more practice, and you will. And as you practice more and more and more, but just using your mind to go to those beautiful, positive places as a visual image, you will start to hear the wonderful sounds, whether it's the rhythm of the waves or whether it's the breeze through the leaves. And if you practice, you will actually start to feel the warmth of the sun or the softness of the grass, because all beautiful places are filled with these wonderful positive things, visually, auditorily, physically. We can feel it. So they say warm fuzzies. The warm fuzzies are good for our health. The warm fuzzies, those are the positive thoughts. Those are the positive feelings. Those are the positive experiences. Megan's birth 11 years ago in San Antonio, I have kept that emotional memory. So here's another technique that I would like to share with you. I would like to have you think of your emotions like you think of your bank account. Uh-oh. I heard that. Somebody says, uh-oh, we're in trouble now. Well, if you have not done a good job financially, yeah, we're in trouble. That's stressful. But most of us at least try to be financially responsible. And we do that by getting rid of bad debts. We get rid of bad deals. But if we have a good investment, what do? We keep it. And it grows, it compounds, it gets bigger over time. So that's how it works in that financial world. You hold on to good investments and they grow. You get rid of bad things. Get them out of your system. And if you do that, you will be financially stable. And you will build some reserves so that when times might get tough, you have something to fall back on to see you through the rough times. So that's financial responsibility. That's financial stability. Well, I'm now going to propose that you think of your emotional bank account the same way. And if you've had some bad thoughts, if you've had some bad experiences, if you've had some bad feelings about anything, what I'm going to suggest that you can do is let them go. But that involves the communication process, and we're going to go to that in a moment. But if you work on letting go getting rid of, clearing out your negative emotions. You actually help your body at a cellular level. And if you work on holding on to, keeping positive thoughts, positive emotions, positive memories, they're adding to your emotional stability. They're adding to your emotional reserves, the positive ones. And it's real. So 11 years ago in San Antonio, Texas, I got a what? You're supposed to be practicing now. I shared that story with you, and then you all did what? Oh, that's better. Now, I have kept that. So 11 years later, she's more beautiful than she was. Oh, there you, okay, good, you're getting it now. But what would have happened if 11 years ago I would have had the, oh, damn, this world is so cruel. This poor baby, I'm scared to death. My God, what is she going to have to face as she grows up? Do any of you think that way? Well, if you think that way, that's going to have negative effects on the cells of your body. And then if that's what you hold on to and you let go of the 11 years later, would I have been able to share that story with you? No. Unless my talk would have been about terrible, awful things. I'd have still had it. But no, I've let that go. It's real to worry about our children and our grandchildren. That's real. So I'm aware of there are negative thoughts, there are negative feelings in life, but I'm aware of them, and what am I going to do with them? Let them go. And then if I have positive thoughts and I have positive feelings in life today, what am I asking you to do? Hold on. Put it in your emotional bank account, and it's going to help you become emotionally stable. It's going to help you become emotionally solvent. It's going to help you have emotional reserves to draw on when this scleroderma gets really rough. Does that make sense? Your emotional bank account is up to you. Now, how many of you have gotten into that stinking thinking habit? And then if that's what you're holding on to, you're headed towards emotional bankruptcy. And some of you may be already close enough that you're kind of afraid of it and you're living day by day. Have you ever been there? Man, I don't know if I can handle it today. Well, part of that is because your emotional bank account is too low of those positive feelings. You can keep them if that's your intention, if that's your plan, and if you're thinking positively about it. So years ago, I was working with a group of respiratory rehab patients at one of our hospitals in Kansas City. And for respiratory patients, and some of you face those problems because of scleroderma, we know that their stress is going to affect their breathing in a negative way. So I was teaching them some of the same kinds of things. And that particular class just happened to be about, I think there were 7. They were all sort of neat little old ladies in the class, and I was having a good time working with them. And we got to the part of you need to express your negative feelings to get them off your chest. You ever heard that saying? Get it off your chest? Ooh, let's listen. Get it off your... If you don't get it off your chest, it's liable to affect your chest, which includes your heart and your breathing. So I was trying to help them understand that they need to open up and express these negative feelings that they have about their chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or about something that may have gone wrong yesterday. So open up and get it off your chest. And you have some angry feelings because of this medical condition. So then we went around the room and we were exploring what are some of the angry feelings that you have because of scleroderma. Yell it out. Do any of you have any angry feelings about this? And if so, what are they? What do you feel about, what are negative feelings that come with scleroderma? Frustration, fatigue, Limitations. Are any of you angry ever about it? Or are you angry about the limitations? Yes. So anger is a part of dealing with this. And so these ladies were getting in touch with, yeah, sometimes we're pretty angry that we can't breathe right and I can't function the way I used to function. Okay, now I'm suggesting, what should you do with that anger? Get rid of it, express it, vent it, communicate it. So then we started to look at, okay, but how do we express anger? Now remember, probably like most of this audience, they were sweet little old ladies. So they were saying, well, you know, I probably say some bad words. Well, if that gets it off your chest, then that's okay, because you're letting it go. And one of these sweet little old ladies finally, kind of embarrassedly, said, well, I hate to admit it, but when I get really upset, I just say bullshit. And immediately I realized that there's a new breathing technique. No, really, bullshit. Whew. Man. So I said, I'm going to talk to the respiratory therapist because I think you've come on with a new breathing rhythm. That's awesome. And one of the other little ladies says, I'm going to try it. She said, bullshit. Whoa, it does. Whew. It's, yeah. And this was on a hallway, right in one of the main hospital corridors. And I'm sitting in here now with 7 little old ladies, and we're unanimously saying, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You want to do it? Let's do it. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Yeah. Don't you feel better now? Yes. Wow. And then I thought, dang, I hope somebody wasn't walking by. I'm leading this. And the next day they came back. And one of the little old ladies said, you know, that did feel really good. But I can't do it. Because then I just felt so embarrassed. And I says, well, okay, we don't want to replace anger with embarrassment. So you could practice. What did we say practice does? It helps us get better at it. And she says, well, I've thought of that, so can I practice, instead of saying bullshit, can I practice saying El Toro poo-poo? No, doesn't work. You lost the breathing technique. Oh, whoa. And, you know, and bless her heart, I don't think we ever helped her overcome the kind of the embarrassment. So I don't want to, if it's embarrassing, no, don't do it. But find some way that you can comfortably what? Poof. Get it off your chest. Open up and express those negative emotions that come with the territory of scleroderma. Then you are decreasing that negative emotional energy. You are literally reducing the toxins that are building up in your body if you don't express your emotions. They have chemical technology now that they can take a teardrop and sight unseen, on the basis of just the chemical analysis of the teardrop, they can identify what emotion that was expressing. Wow. Okay, the lesson is, if you aren't crying to get rid of these toxic chemicals, what's happening to your body? You're building them up. And over time, you're going to end up with too many toxins in your body because of these negative emotions. So it's really important that you learn that you need to open up and communicate. You need to express your feelings. And it's important to help you understand that because of scleroderma, you have 4 negative emotions that come with the territory. Sad, and there's all kinds of adjectives, blue, down, discouraged, depressed. So by raise of hands, even as patients or family members, because of scleroderma, how many of you are aware that sometimes you're sad about this? Yes, you're normal. The second one is mad. How many of you recognize that you're mad or irritable or frustrated? Show of hands. Yes, it's all of us. There isn't something wrong with you that you're sad or you're mad. But what would be wrong for you to keep all that toxic energy bottled up inside? The third negative emotion is scared, anxious, worried, uptight, tense. How many of you have that feeling? And the fourth one is sad, down, depressed. No, excuse me. The fourth one is guilt. I said sad. You're right. You caught me. I caught it too. The fourth negative emotion is guilt. Now, a lot of times people say, no, I don't feel guilty because I have scleroderma. Good. But how many of you feel guilty about those limitations? The things that you can't do like you used to do. Or how many of you have guilt feelings at times because of how this affects those around me? That's why most of us will sometimes have guilt feelings. So sad, mad, scared, and guilt. Those are the four negative emotions that come with medical problems. Each one of them produces a different but toxic chemical in your body. You need to get them out. Crying is God's way of cleansing the inner body of toxins. My father was a very religious man, but he had one question, and that was that he kind of thought God made a mistake with these things called tear ducts. Because he had been taught by his father that big boys do not cry. So he thought that's how he was supposed to be. He taught that to me. So I thought, no, big boys don't cry. Well, graduate school comes, studying psychology and human behavior, and the textbooks now start telling me what? Big boys do cry. So I had to go through a process of changing my thoughts. Because I had learned how to not cry. And I had practiced, and I had gotten very good at it. And it took me a lot of practice to turn that around and to know that it was okay for a big boy to cry. So I have learned how, it's still not easy for me, but I've learned how to open up and let the feelings out. It's easier for me to do it verbally. So verbally, you can just express your feelings. Remember, bullshit? That's not the only word. You can say, oh, diddly darn damn. And if damn is too powerful, say at least diddly darn. But some way, but you cannot just use the words. How many of you have heard the phrase, there's a difference between talking the talk and walking the walk? So when you're learning how to express your feelings, and I had to learn because I'd been trained that big boys don't cry, emotions are signs of weakness, don't get mad, Jim, that means you're losing control. I mastered it. But I was not dealing with my health very well. And my father's heart blew up. He wasn't a hypochondriac. He was a good man. He didn't imagine that his heart blew up. What really happened? His heart broke down. And a significant part of that was because he never expressed his emotions. I've practiced hard to learn how to do that. I used to be the one who, even when my wife would say, I love you, honey, ditto. Isn't that awful? If there's any of you in the audience that do that, stop it. And start what? Say it. Some famous songwriter wrote the song, tell them while they're living. Wasn't it sad that we all gathered around my father's funeral and said what? All those things that we didn't say. Don't wait till they die. Say it now. I love you. So another way of communicating is the nonverbal way that we communicate. It's touch, it's hugs, and one of my favorite poems that I've found through the years is called Hugs. It's wondrous what a hug can do. A hug can cheer you when you're blue, or a hug can say, I love you so. Gee, I hate to see you go. The hug, it's welcome back again. Gee, great to see you. Where have you been? The hug, there's no doubt about it. We scarcely could survive without it. I don't have the time, or I'll give you the science of that too. We scarcely could survive without it. The hug, it delights, it warms, it charms. Maybe that's why God gave us arms. Wow. Maybe that's what these are for. No need to worry about your store of them. The more you give, the more there's of them. So stretch those arms out without delay. Give someone a hug today. Duh! Come on, come on. There you go. Stretch them out. Get in touch. Literally. There you go. There you go. And you know, we're going to now drive the dermatologists out of business. There is a dermatological condition known as skin hunger. And it doesn't respond to ointments or pills. Do you know what the solution for skin hunger is? Touch. Loving touch. Okay. So what are you going to start doing? Good morning, Lord. And take those 2 cleansing breaths and go to some positive places and think about it and open up and express your feelings. Get rid of those negative ones. Clear that bullshit out of your life and replace it with what? A hug, a loving touch, a loving thought, a loving feeling. And you will have a better day. And if you do that day after day after day, you will have a very strong, positive emotional bank account. And that will help you deal with scleroderma. God bless you and have a wonderful conference.